How's it going, guys? It's Mr. Lone Wolf, and today I'm going to test drive this beast, the International Loadstar 1700. It's definitely one I've been waiting to get around to with the scout reviews. It's pretty damn good. I enjoy it a lot. It's basically like kind of a truck and kind of a scout. It bridges the gap pretty nicely, and it's sort of the best of both worlds. So yeah, we'll get stuck in and have a look at her. Engine-wise, it's got like S plus on the power, which is good. It's the same engine as the Kodiak C70 that I reviewed yesterday. And it's kind of like the Kodiak C70, but it's like a shorter wheelbase and everything, and it's a Scout, which has some benefits, some not. I'm definitely using high range in this. Suspension, it raises it a little bit, not loads, but obviously the main thing is it lets you put bigger tyres on. As for the tyres, I can't quite see because it shrinks the screen, but they're like 35 inch or something stock, and then fully upgraded they're 41 inch, so it's not big for a truck tyre, but it's pretty big for a Scout tyre. So yeah, it's like not really got any complaints. It's sort of, I can't really try and compare it to a Taiga too much. As for the add-ons on the back, you got that one that gives you 3 spare tyres, 150 repair points, and 100 fuel. You got this one that gives you, I think, 4 spare tyres and 400 repair points, which is more than a maintenance trailer. And you've also, it's the only Scout that can have one of these cranes on. And I'll be honest, for doing like some crane things, it isn't any good because it's just not big enough to counterweight where the crane's going. But if you're in a bit of a squeeze and you just need to load a bit of single cargo back on a trailer that you've rolled, it'll get you by. But yeah, don't take it out for some serious crane missions. But it's cool that it's got it. It's the only Scout that can have it. So yeah, that's like I say, another bonus for it really. As for the winch, by the way, I've put the like the best one on. See, that's the thing though, because it's half truck, half Scout. I can also have a Scout winch, which has longer reach than a truck. As for the snorkel, it's higher than the bonnet. It's like halfway between the bonnet and the roof, so I wasn't assuming it's going to be a submarine truck, but it's a bit higher than the bonnet, which is nice. As for all these attachments and add-ons, I put like parking lights and all that sort of stuff. And you can see I've got like that flasher bar. That's that one basically. And that's like instead of the beacons. And you can also put that 5 block of like roof fog lights on. If you put this one on with beacons, it gets rid of that flasher bar. That's like a police sort of thing, or to me it is like an old sort of looks like out Smoking the Bandit or something. Yeah, so I'm keeping that on. As for the front bumpers, I actually quite like this one, and it's got 2 fog lights on it, but it technically isn't quite the best. But in normal gameplay I'd probably just stick it on, although I have used this stock one the whole time. So if I line it up next to them boxes, you can see that one's worse, sticks out forwards, and it looks like it'd catch a lot. So does that really. This next one, that one's not too bad. Like, it is a little bit lower, but I mean, look at the angle from the tyre to the bumper is a very, very good angle, and you'll see that come in handy later. This last one, it's as tall, oh sorry, it's the same height or whatever as the stock one, but it does stick out a little bit forward, so it is technically worse, but the angle's so good anyway. Normally I would probably, now I've looked, I'd stick that on, but for the sakes of this, I'm just going to leave the stock one on. So again, if you ain't got the sort of spare dough to be kitting it out with attachments, don't worry about it. I mean, look at it, the front wheel's practically at the front of the truck, so oh yeah, there's a sun visor added on. And then as for rims, it's got quite a lot of choice. I think I just left, yeah, the second ones on. Paint jobs, it's all got obviously all the normal stuff, and then when you get to the actual like paint schemes, that's like the fenders are different colour green, but yeah, I'm not that keen because it's not that bright. I like that. I think I end up keeping that one on it. Again, I don't dislike them at all, they're just I like the more bright colours. That's pretty nice, a nicer green than some of them get with the black fenders. Again, yeah, well, it's probably my least favourite, but I don't hate it or anything. I was going to stick with white. I've had it white since I had it, I just, again, because it made all like the contours of it stand out. But yeah, in the end, last second decision, I went for this one. Looks wise, I really like the look of it. I don't know if it was made in the 50s, but it reminds me of like almost got a Jeepers Creepers vibe to it. But yeah, like a 1950s sort of pickup, like an American pickup, which yeah, I think is pretty cool. In light side again, 50s pickup is what I'd call it. I can see out the back. I can't see my tyres even if I didn't have that attachment on. I like that it's got like the crew cab and the rear windows, so visibility is very nice. I also like that I can see my rear tyre in the mirror while I'm actually looking forwards, which I'd only really be using that if I was interior view and I was in like low ranges and seeing what's happening. But yeah, looking out the back I can see my tyre, so that's all I'd need really. I can see behind me as well. The horn, it's a Scout, so I'm not expecting some big fat truck horn. It's got quite a nice little tone to it anyway, so yeah. Right, when we start her up, as you'll see when I rev it, it's the same engine as the Kodiak yesterday, but that blipped up the revs really quick. This is a lot more slower and lazier. I believe this is the same engine that was in the Freightliner as well, the 114 SD. And that was very slow revving as well, so it's more like that. I'll get into later why I think they've done that. As for trailers, remember though, it is a Scout, so you've only got a choice of these trailers, which are not obviously as useful. There's a 2 cargo trailer. However, I just want to show you a couple of things. There's a couple of reasons this video is a little longer. If you put the bumper on with the 4 fog lights, I mean look, I've got 5 along the top, I've got the searchlight next to the right hand mirror as we're looking at it, 2 headlights, 4 lights on the bumper, like it lights the crap out, it's like daytime in front of you, so. And then, obviously it's not perfect, but Scouts can't tow these sort of trailers, the Tatering can't even tow any trailer, so you can stick a winch on. If any of you seen my Rift gameplay, I dived around in the water and squeezed my way through all them rocks, and then straight after I winched a curtainside trailer to its destination, even up that fat hill where the Voron AE had rolled. So yeah, this is definitely, because it's like, the thing about having a truck engine is it's got a truck gearbox, and because of that it's got 8 gears in high range, and it's the high range gearbox, it's not the freeway gearbox like the other Scouts have. I was just enjoying the speed, like goddamn you stump. Yeah, I just wanted to show you, like, this is what it looks like quickly with some of the other bits and bobs on it. Obviously I've just shown you ragging around with that trailer. What is it, 400 points. This is where, obviously as you can see, it's making me wheelie rather than picking the trailer up because I've got the crane quite far out. If you were very close, like, you couldn't do long range craning, but if you just needed to get something back on a trailer and you were next to the trailer, like I say, it'll get you by in a squeeze. The other thing that somebody told me weeks ago, which is I like, even though it's completely pointless, if you stick the crane arm hanging out the back, you can do wheelers. Which, like I say, this is the sort of stuff I need to know. I don't need to know, I don't know, not the important stuff. I need to know how to wheelie, how to fly off cliffs, and how to make a Swiss Army dolphin, and I'm happy. Like, oh no, loaf. Anyway, I came flying back out. The reason I've got this attachment on the back, it doesn't seem to make any difference. I prefer the look of it. Without it, it's just a bare ladder frame chassis. And I just prefer it like this, and as it's a Scout and you go off on long adventures, I've got extra fuel, extra tyres, and 150 points. So it's brilliant for that sort of stuff. All the other Scouts suffer, or most, with a roof rack glitch where it just makes them incredibly slow. It just about managed to punch its way all through there in high, but near the end, it's, for a Scout, it's pretty good in mud and everything, but for a truck-wise, it's not amazing, and yeah, eventually it just ran out of speed there. You've seen all the water start to splash up, that's because I was in high range. And yeah, I dropped it down to auto. Diff's always on and everything, so you're getting the same benefit in auto and high range as you do with low range on something that doesn't have engageable diffs. Now, because, like, again, this video is like a few minutes longer really, it killed one tree, and it killed a tree consistently, but I couldn't ever get any more than that. Yeah, I've kind of done some Scout tests with it and some truck tests because it's kind of half and half, and I was curious to know myself. Yeah, like, say coming through here, for example, the Kodiak yesterday just couldn't do it. I tried with the off-road gearbox, tried with the high range, I came back a few times with the high range, I just couldn't get through it. Yeah, this thing, like, it's slow, but it got out. I didn't, like, again, I've also got a massive long reach winch on it, so I could easily grip one of those trees or whatever, but that's part of the thing with the Scout, or Scouts, is that's why I like strapping the loaf onto the Dolphin, because Out of context. No one would have a bloody clue what I'm talking about. Yeah, because it's got a longer reach winch, which scouts do. I mean, driving along it's just fine. As you can see, I damaged myself hitting the tree. It isn't the toughest thing when you smash into stuff, but I've got repair points, I've got tyres, I've got fuel. Again, just I was like, oh, I'll stick a bit of fuel in and we're off again. And yeah, that's where, like, some scouts, if you have the roof rack, you're incredibly slow. But if you smash yourself, you're like, well, do I just carry on limping or do I just recover it and come back? This kind of gives you one extra life to just repair what you've screwed up and then carry on. As for suspension, you can see it's taken the odd one or two here and there, but it isn't anything nuts. I've got loads of suspension health left. That was just in high gear. Like, it motors along once you get through the gears in auto, but in high it's that nice balance where it's making progress but you're not smashing into everything. Yeah, like, I came back here because like this was sort of one of the scout tests really, to see how well it goes up this sort of wiggly windy hill. As you can see with like the turning circle, it's very good for like truck levels of turning circle, but it's not amazing for scout levels of turning circle. But obviously the Tatran, as much as I like it, is horrific for turning circles. So this thing is nearer to the scouts than the trucks, but the loaf would eat this thing for breakfast. The TUZ166, all the little thing, the Don 71 probably would. Even the Hummer would, I reckon, like turn sharper than this, but it's definitely pretty damn nice. I did this in the Hummer thing, just going up that hill. I'm not going to try and turn there because I'm about to go the proper way, but I was just showing you like it managed to jump up that lip. Because it's a bit like the Kodiak but with a shorter wheelbase, obviously beaching yourself doesn't mean it's unbeachable, but it's better like than a really long wheelbase truck. But yeah, as you can see, going along, see it's wider. For a Scout, it's pretty wide, especially at the rear with the dual rears. So, yeah, well, as you'll see in a sec, like this tree, the little gap I try to squeeze through, I have to kill the tree, which, I mean, if you see my videos, I really don't mind killing trees, but that is a potential winch point. Like, let's say I had an autonomous winch on and I now rolled down the hill and I was upside down, I'd be able to reach that tree and flip myself back over, whereas now I've just killed it by trying to get through there. Again, the loaf, the TUZ166. The Hummer got through there just, it did push the tree over a bit, but it didn't quite break it. But yeah, as you can see, I mean, it's fine, I'd happily take it up here, and this is quite often what scouts, like in actual gameplay when you're unlocking watchtowers. I can't remember if there was a watchtower up here or not, but this is the sort of thing you'll be doing. And again, like you can see me taking the odd little knock, but if you look at the health and stuff, it's like there's plenty on there that you just take the odd little one here and there and it's nothing. And like I say, I know I've got 150 points and the 3 spare wheels, so in my own time, now, to be honest, this is about the pace I'd do it in my own time, but for the sakes of these videos, I do sometimes try to not rush things, but I don't know, it's like if you see a Lamborghini review on Top Gear, you want to see it going 200 mile an hour. You don't want to see it going 30 in traffic. It's like it's implied that it can do that, but I want to see it on the limit. So even going along there, it's like it looked like the back end had just lost it then, but it doesn't really. It's like it is catchable, even though it gets a lot of sideways action, which I like. I love flying this thing down roads. If I have somewhere to go and it's a lot of road journeys, I do take this quite a bit here. To be honest, the road's a bit slippy there. It got a lot of them in the first stage of the rally, and I mean it's not unrollable at all. It's not bad for rolling, definitely. You can see there's like a big dip my wheel fell into, so kind of worst case scenario, but yeah, it's not unrollable. But well, the loaf is ridiculous, but like this is definitely viable scout material to go up mountains and that. Just, you know, like don't go flying up mountains, because that, like, I wouldn't have rolled there if I just slowed down and approached calmly. But again, I wanted to know myself, because I've bounced off there and done the exact same thing with some other stuff. Even here it was close, because it's got the 41 inch tyres, was it, or 43, but not quite as tall as trucks. this is a hard part. Even some trucks fail on that because the snow goes so low there. That's why I move over here. This is like backup rail test where it's not quite as low, and yeah, it gets over. So again, it's viable to jump over some barriers if you just don't want to go round or whatever. See, this is what I mean. I was doing some scout tests, some truck tests, so I've tried to keep it as short as I could really, but yeah, 48 minutes. Not too bad, considering all the different bits and bobs I get up to with it. You see that grey bush thing just absolutely nailed me there. It was going fine until that. It's not rapid through snow, but I use the winch because, again, that's part of the strengths of scouts, is their massive winch. Trucks, you almost have to have made it, and you might be able to winch something just to drag you across the line. This thing, or scouts, you don't even have to enter a river. You can reach stuff at the other side and just winch yourself through and stuff, and you'll see a little bit more of that sort of stuff later. See here, a lot of stuff would have just nose planted then and dug in, but because those wheels are so close to the front, I floored it, and as soon as those wheels touched the floor, it flicked my nose sort of forwards and kept me on my wheels. So yeah, that was pretty nice. Obviously I went for the wall jumping test just to see. And to its credit, what did I damage? My engine a bit. I could have had that add-on. Yeah, that's it without anything on the back, just a ladder frame chassis sticking out the back. I won't leave all it in, but it got through the trees, but it, as you see, those branches, man, they're OP as all hell. Some of them are, anyway, some are fine, but some are just like, are you serious? Stops like a Taiga dead sometimes, and it's like a little branch. See what I mean though? Nailing down the roads, I just really like it. It's so nice to just go flying. Stick the handbrake on. I wasn't worried about tipping there. It does cock a wheel. You can't. Again, it's tippable, but I wasn't like, oh god. I've seen that plenty of times in this. That's what I do like about the chained, is they got enough grip, but then when you actually start drifting like that, they often let go before you roll, which highway tyres on tarmac are so good. You just dig in and flip. I cut a bit of that out. It got through there, but very slowly, and I reached for the telegraph pole and winched it like I did with the Hummer. So again, that's just, I cut it out because all you're going to see is me slowly winching along through mud, and yeah. Through that water did very nice. Turns that corner nice because it's got very good steering. Tiny bit narrower rear axle with the jewels on than like the Kodiak or the Freightliner, but not a bad thing. See, look, tiny edge of a tree branch stopped me dead. Quick bit of interior. It's got a bonnet there, so the left hand corner of the windscreen is nice, but it's not quite on your horizon, so it's not really a problem. You still sat high enough that it's just there, but if it was gone, you just see a bit of floor in front of you that's of relatively little use most of the time. Right now, I'm looking right at the right of the screen. Oh crap. Keep it pinned and fingers crossed. Didn't work this time, but it's worth a go. So he didn't catch its chin there. I didn't think it would either. And this is the sort of thing, it's like, the thing with scouts when you go exploring, you don't necessarily want to just go off-road completely. You want to roughly know where you're going and follow roads as close as you can get, and then do the last bit off-road. So having scouts that can fly comfortably down roads, that's where the Cairn Marshall, for example, is just shocking. It just spins and flicks all over the place. It's like you'd be better off going off-road in that thing, but this can absolutely hammer down roads. And then yeah, when you're relatively close to whatever you want, you just point it at it, and it's like, yeah, it's not as rapid as a Taiga through deep mud and blah blah blah. Like, you just seen it go into auto through that mud bit. I mean, it was capable, but if I wanted to go some serious off-roading, yeah, I'd take a Taiga, but this is an incredibly good scout, there is no doubt about it. See, little things like this though, because it's got smaller tyres than the trucks, it's struggling more there, but again, fingers crossed, keep it pinned. 60% of the time it works every time, and we're off. Gets up that one, not too bad either, so that was my, I think, yeah, I just banged it in high. I was pushing me luck. But, good brakes, good to know. Yeah, I'd have no problem skipping across there sort of thing if I was out and about with this. I wouldn't cut it out of my journey while I'm planning it. I'd use that bridge, it's fine, it did it. I'd probably be a bit more careful in my own time than I was when making this. As for along here, you see like there's that grey bush in the way. So I know obviously a truck could just go round it as well, but my point is, with the scouts, you don't have to go through everything. There's very often a way round things that's usually just enough of a gap for scouts to get through that's rarely good enough for trucks, particularly the bigger ones, to get through. As for going through here, it's not amazing in snow, but it's capable, it's just slow. And that's what I wanted to show you, because of the good like nose clearance and the fact that the wheels are so far forward. I didn't have to smash into it in the end, I could just bump my wheels up. I took a tiny bit of damage, but nothing, it's not even close to red. The tipping point is, you see where like that fuel tank sort of is, it's about there, but I messed around with it, I was able to get over, yeah, about there, but I just carried on going. I only left the A's of John one in because it was so odd, but all the rest so far I think are pretty normal. They are a bit weighted to the rear, it's probably for a game mechanics handling thing. Through here again, it's like I wouldn't take it through here because I could skirt along the edge, and it was still slow skirting along the edge, but it's one of them, it's like I wouldn't be here long. I could even go through them well, I don't know, it depends how OP the branches are. This branch, the one I've just touched, almost stops the Azov Dolphin. That's how OP that particular branch is. Look at it. That one that just sprang back is a beast for some reason. And probably that one that's still gripping onto me. But yeah, that's the point again. The length of that winch I could reach out was way beyond what a truck would. So I didn't have to fight my way through 3/4 of it. I just had to get to like about where that tree was. Well, I used a winch to get to that tree. And yeah, you just pull yourself through all the awkward bits. And then you're back to like, you know, shallow snow, dirt roads, etc. And you go flying again. So going up here for the mountain test, it's not the best for rolling, but it's honestly pretty damn good. I wasn't worried going up there and stuff. Again, extremely good sort of nose, tyre angle, whatever. Good clearance. Gave it a pretty harsh nose test then. Like I went a bit further down where it's a bit of a steeper angle. And yeah, as you see, the only thing I would say is just feather the throttle. Don't just go pasting across the top of the mountain, because you will hit a bump and you will roll. But as long as you take your time, it's not top heavy. The only way I could explain it, you see there, it's like, it's not bad for getting back to its wheels. Obviously rescue truck is on the way. You know, like a dice, I had to just had to know. See, taking more damage when you land on the back recently. Anyway, you know, like with a dice, how it's kind of got slightly rounded corners and edges, so it rolls easier. Imagine an absolute solid square dice with all the pointy corners and everything. It'd still be a dice. It's not favoured in any way, but it'll stop very easily on whatever side it's on, and it's like, this is a bit more like that. But it's still not bad, as you'll like see. So even here, just again, once you're committed, just, it's the same with a lot of trucks, to be honest. There's times you'll roll if you let off. If you just follow through on what you were going to do, sometimes you get away with it. See, again, massive reach, springed myself off that tree. I knew I'd stall it pulling myself up, but I knew it'd do that basically and ping me back down. Yeah, even going down here, like, I'm not worried about it flicking there. I mean, that was like, well, I steered into it, but I wasn't like, oh god, it does it quite a lot, Cox, particularly its back leg. Auto gear up here, diff's always on and everything, so I had a feeling it'd be alright as it is. Scoots along to the left a bit. A lot of them do to it, just naturally that the camera angle's a bit like odd, but I think it leans to the left a little bit. Near enough every truck does that. Yeah, look, here, what I was going to say, instead of trying to turn into it to save it, sometimes you're best off making it roll. It's like, if you're going to roll it. If you try and save it and you just end up losing it, you'll probably sit on your side. if you're going to roll and you just steer into it and think, right, go on then, you'll get enough momentum to get back to your wheels. And it's the same with some trucks, like, yeah, sometimes the worst thing you can do is try and save it and end up having a nice gentle landing on your side. But that was mountain test in the snow. See this, look, I was just messing around trying to see if I could put the loaf on the trailer. I think the trailer helped pull it over there. If I didn't have that on, I think I would have been alright. But it's crane. It's just because it's not got a long wheelbase and everything, it's not got, there's not enough weight hanging over anywhere to resist the weight of the crane. Obviously loaf comes in and saves the day. What I wanted to do was just see if and how easy it is to get a loaf on. In the end, it basically got itself up because it's a professional. Stuck a winch on that post, pulled my arse end round, and we're good to go. I also wanted to sort of see how well does it stay on and stuff. Go around there just fine. Again, nice steering, so I could go nice and wide. I didn't have to like clip that car on the way past. Even through here, considering I was towing the loaf as well, I think it was alright. Didn't go through as well as like the Kodiak, but that's a truck. Yeah, come into the quarry. Again, this is where you don't go through the tough stuff, you cut through it. Or sorry, cut round it, and it's like, there's many different paths into the quarry. And the bit I'm about to look at, that's all the deep mud that I normally go through in the trucks. That's a truck path. Scouts don't like that. The Tatterin would, that's a bit of an oddity, but yeah, you go round it, and it's like, that's what I did. Flying down here, in my own time I'd feather it a bit more, but I just gunned it and see what happens. I give it a pretty hard challenge here because it's got very nice nose clearance and stuff, so I definitely flung it off the steepest bit, and yeah, its nose didn't catch. Pretty happy with the speed, like, because it's a truck gearbox again, not a Scout gearbox. Like, yeah, it's just nice, and yet again, the Scout winch reach length. I got stuck in here, but I was able to reach that telegraph pole right over there and just pull my. All I needed, I smashed into that big rock and I kind of burnt my wheels into place. But then I wedged on that rock, not really beached, but I just not got enough grip. So you know what that means? It's loaf time. It's only so long I could hold out. I couldn't even be arsed going around this trailer. I was like, sod it. I'll just fling her off the cliff. See, I'm not even worried. See, the loaf thinks about me. I now got time to have a sip of my coffee, and I don't have to try and drive like a one-handed rally special. That sounds like a euphemism. Let's be honest, we've all had a one-handed rally special. Little handstand on its way down just to show it's a professional. And it glitched a tiny bit here, but look at it. The second the winch is on, just yanks the thing right out of there with packed cargo on and all sorts. I put it at the top just at like emergency winch point, just in case. I tried to nail up here in high, but because it's not got the punchy rev, like the way the revs climb in the Kodiak, even though it's same engine and gearbox. So yeah, it just didn't have the punchiness in high. But I put it in auto. To be honest, between auto and low, it's like any given second, each one is better. Sometimes each of them slip, sometimes each of them grip in. Auto's quite nice, like here I get caught, the trailer, the wheels are so small and they've got stupid mud flaps on the front, and yeah, just all of it added up, it really doesn't help. Yeah, obviously I was trying to get it, I was snaking left to right trying to do it. That's where I prefer auto now, because it's quicker to snake me left and right than low range would be. But just, by the way, if the high range gearbox didn't have one low range gear, I'd probably take the off-road, but because I've got that gear, it's just, yeah, I don't need two more options of low range. I need two more options of high range. That cargo is unpacked. I don't know why it's slipping off the back. The Hummer didn't do that, but I don't know why it'd be any different. It might be post-update, so yeah. But the thing is with like Scouts, I wouldn't normally do this and count it in a truck. But I bogged down here and I just grabbed the that telegraph pole. I know I'm pretty close, but yeah, having a big, nice, long winch length on this is just handy. You can grab everything. Like without the winch, it'd be like having no limbs. It just, yeah, you'd struggle to do stuff more. I tell you, do you know what? Actually, it reminds me. There's a funny Funny story my brother was telling me the other week. Basically, both my brothers are my half brothers, and I've got a sister who's like my full sister, but they're all my brothers and sisters. Like, we all grew up together. It's all, yeah, like that's just what they are. So, but anyway, I'll mainly explain that because basically he was telling me in like probably late 80s, early 90s when he was a kid, his dad took him to the seaside, and his dad, by the way, had a false leg because he injured it pretty badly while racing. And then he ended up getting a bit of gangrene and blah blah blah, and the hospital fucked up a bit, but they had to take his leg off. I'll tell you a mad story about that sometime that you probably won't believe, but I promise you it's true. I was laughing with my mum the other day about how unbelievable it is. Anyway, stick to this one. Yeah, his name was Terry. He was in the sea, and back then he only had one false leg. Like, eventually he had like a swimming leg, a racing leg, a normal leg, blah blah blah. I know, I didn't realise either. Anyway, back then he only had one, like, just false leg, and he was playing around in the sea or whatever with my brother when he was a kid. And then when he walked out the sea, apparently his leg was full of water, and so he whipped out a penknife. And by the way, back then, like before you got kids computer games and stuff, like you'd get a penknife for Christmas. I was like 8 and I had a penknife. Not ever imagining stabbing someone. You just, I don't know, you building dens. It's like, I might want to cut a bit of string or whatever. Anyway, yeah, he whipped out a penknife and he just started stabbing his fake leg to put a hole in it. But it just made me laugh because my brother said there was a load of kids nearby that when they just seen him whip out a penknife and start stabbing his own leg, they all screamed and ran off because they thought he was just stabbing a real leg. And then, yeah, he just stabbed the hole in the fake leg to let all the water out, because the way it was attached or whatever, like when he was walking out the sea, it was like, it was just a leg full of water that he couldn't lift properly and it was about to pop off or whatever. So yeah, he stabbed a hole in it and my brother said it looked like his leg was having a piss, but then it emptied the water and yeah, he was alright. I just thought it was pretty funny that all the kids shit himself and ran off. Anyway, I suppose back to this. I already had a, like, not a great feeling that it was going to just ride up here. That lazy low rev range, or the speed of which it climbs, is possibly part to do with it. But to be honest, if this had the fast revs as well, it'd be bordering on overpowered, because like I say, it's already like bridged the gap between a truck and a scout. You can do truck things with it, but it's got the reach of a scout, winch and all sorts, so it's like if it had a punchier engine, like you put the Tiger engine in this, it'd be broken as all hell, because it'd be the best of both worlds. So I don't really mind that it can't get up here with the cargo. I know it's only 2 cargo, but yeah, it is what it is. The Hummer didn't have a chance in hell. I don't think the Tatrin, that's going to have to winch to a trailer because it can't have trailers, but that does mean the Tatrin would use its winch up, whereas stuff like this that can hold trailers doesn't use its winch. So that's a bonus, and again, because it's got a longer winch, this is why I was able to do this. Squeeze my way up there. See, it looks, you think the loaf's struggling, I bang it in the high and it just starts flying up there. Anyway, I get it up here. It sits itself in its little secret magic hole that only it knows about, that it seems to just use every time. Again, because this has got a massive long winch, even when I'm driving in this, I can reach the loaf. I could actually do it with a loaf to this, because it's got diffs always on. It wouldn't matter if it just stayed in auto. But, point being, and again look, the loaf's not pulling backwards, it's just sat in its little dip, and it's pulling this and a packed cargo trailer up there, so yeah, that's just like, they're just handy for little winch points everywhere. I probably could have carried on going with the loaf, obviously I like to try and make them, like the thing I'm reviewing, do as much as it can, but again look, I get stuck, it's like, I ain't even going to waste my time, just stick a winch on that and it gets my momentum going again. And yeah, I'm off. I just quickly stopped there to get rid of that cargo. The invisible trailer things I don't really like. I like my little trailer collection in Northport. I don't really like the ones down here. Someone was saying that, like, it's bad for their OCD. I agree, dude, but I just ain't got the time. Down here, almost out of fuel, so I was just nailing it, but yeah. It flew down, for some reason the cargo disconnected. So, bring the old beast. I mean, look at it. I do it because I can. If there are corners like a goddamn house fire. Bit too much. But yeah, I suppose I didn't really need to fly down and do anything because I'm about to recover. So you'll think, oh, it's rolled. It's like, no, it's just turning itself around so I can winch. But then, because the truck's gone in that bloody invisible bollocks, I can't even tell which, like, I already know, as soon as I turn the winch on, it'll be like, what the hell am I winching to? So I just moved around a bit, grabbed it. Again, undefeated as usual. I mean, it's not the hardest thing to flip, if I'm honest. Just took it down here quickly. To be honest, the Hummer surprised me that it actually went through it. I thought, honestly, they wouldn't, and the big part of the reason why I thought scouts wouldn't get through here, like any of them, is because it's got such a long winch. You can see that fallen tree on the other side. I'd be able to reach that pretty much before I've even entered the water, and then just winch myself across. So, in this sort of situation, the game tends to put, you know, like fallen tree, something, usually, that you can reach. You probably won't be able to reach it with a truck until you're already, like, halfway in the river or whatever, but yeah. I mean, you can see here, I stopped on purpose just to show myself, and for the footage, like, I can reach that tree right over there. Yeah, and that's how you do things with the Scout. This is how I go along. It's like every time I get to a difficult bit, I just fling a winch out and pull myself through it, and it's the same as this is on the way in Zimnegorsk, on the way to where you get the TUZ-420. Hit this patch of mud. The ANK and stuff goes pretty slow through it. A lot of stuff does, to be honest. The Tatrin nails through there because it's just a chassis full of wheels. Like, that's the only thing the Tatrin does, but it does it bloody well. Yeah, again though, just massive winch. That's what she said. Pull your way through, and as soon as I'm out the other side, really, I can just release the winch and carry on. So, or I could have drove round. Like I said, there's always usually enough room for a Scout to go round whatever difficult obstacle or terrain there is. I have to say, it does this often. It flies like a beauty. That's all I'd need to hear. I was asking someone, do I want to buy this? They just said, flies like a fucking beauty. They're like, right, now I just need to pick the colour. Again though, because it's got repair points and stuff, because I got that rear, like, it just looks more like a traditional pickup with that rear frame on, but it's handy that it's got points and fuel and spare tyres. Like, this thing is bordering on OP. For a Scout, it's pretty ridiculous really what it can do. This is probably one of its, I'd say, its biggest weaknesses, but I wouldn't, relatively speaking, I wouldn't say it's bad, but obviously the snorkel is not even at the roof. However, when I get to about here, it's kind of floating. It almost wants to float, so even though it's not quite floating, it's lifting all the weight off the wheels, and I just can't pull myself any further in the water. Yeah, I was trying to make it go as deep as I can. That's what I said, but she agreed, so it's got to be true. Reverse out, took a little tiny bit of damage there when I was reversing, but again, I've got repair points. But yeah, like, about the bonnet and lower, and it's fine. You could probably go a bit worse than the bonnet, but do you know what, as well, I forgot my slippery flying dolphin test, and then when I got that like that, I was like, oh my god. And I almost left it like this, but what I didn't want to do is switch to the Azov and have that go all transparent and just glitch through the trailer. So I even looked on my Hummer video. See, this is why I need to add these things. I checked on my Hummer video where I parked the Hummer so I could hit it. There's the OG Loaf. He's been doing speed tests. He's busy, but like, come on, Loaf. We got shenanigans to get up to. I don't know why it said engine stalled, because it definitely ain't stalled. But yeah, I think the Azov took more damage doing that one. I was on my way with a Loaf, but then I remembered I need top speed to hit this where it is, so I was like, I'll be back, Loaf. Don't you worry. But slippery flying dolphin test. I mean, look at it, nailed it first time. I have to say though, see, this is why you need to know these things. It took it pretty goddamn well. A lot better than the Hummer. The Hummer was like flattened. I mean, it had everything damaged on it. This thing, I couldn't click over to it. It's because one of my Hummers is in the cliffs at the minute. It sometimes like doesn't let you change vehicle around here. Basically, long story short, I was just to add it. I was gonna try and show you how well this pulls stuff, but it just recently stuff just keeps sliding along the floor instead of tipping. And it's like, it might take you a minute to tip it. It might take you 10 minutes. You just it depends. Like, I try and drag it over to rocks. But yeah, in the end, I just got bored of it keeps spinning around everywhere, and I was like, this is kind of my point, that they need to fix how much it digs in. And at this point, I was like, I'll just go and recover the Azov and bring it back, because it's just quicker. I mean, it's just a goddamn horse of a vehicle. Get yourself a loaf. That's the conclusion I've came to again. I mean, it's like a Mission Impossible game, where it's the fuel was counting down, and it flipped it with, what, 3 fuel, like 3 seconds to go? What more could you ask for? And it was already smashed, by the way. I hit the loaf flat out with a truck earlier, and it was relatively good, but yeah, it was already damaged when I brought it along. So yeah, never mind this thing. Get yourself a loaf, get one of these if you got some spare money afterwards. But anyway, what I'm going to do is try and drown it with the Azov, and yeah, I want to see what happens, see if it tries to actually float once it's far enough, or see what happens. I mean, it's taking damage pretty quick, so it's definitely not a floater. That we can confirm. What I wanted to know is, like I said, say I wanted to take it across a deep river and it wouldn't be able to make it through, could I winch across to something and float across the river? But no, so I'd have to take damage unless I had an autonomous winch, and I did it with my engine off. As you can see, the back end is now floating, so I learned that. I repaired it a little bit, fired it up, stuck the winch on the Azov and tried to floor it so the Azov would take me out, but yeah, I'd already used up all my health points doing all sorts of other things around here, so there's only so long you can go before you're going to need to, yeah, stick her in a garage and repair them points. But it's got them, and that's important. Like I say, you're 2 maps away, and you roll and you smash a tyre and the engine. Being able to just fix them and carry on when you're in Pedro Bay and you don't have to recover from Northport is important. Obviously, yeah, get yourself a loaf. That's the first conclusion. Then you won't have to repair anything because you'll never roll. Anyway, for this, honestly, it is worth it. It's one of the best scouts in the game, without a doubt. In terms of, like, I do a lot of messing around now because I have got missions left, but they're all just, I've looked at them, none of them are hard. I've done all the contracts, I've done everything that's difficult. It's just a formality, basically. So I mess around a lot doing stuff, but if you're actually in gameplay, this thing is bloody handy for all sorts of reasons. As I said, even on Rift, which that was my most recent gameplay that's actual missions and stuff, really. And yeah, after playing around in the water and getting through them tight rocks and stuff where a truck wouldn't be able to go, I jumped straight out where you find the TUZ on Rift, and then I towed that curtain side trailer. So yeah, it's kind of like, it bridges the gap, but in a good way. It's not really the worst of both worlds, it's sort of the best of both worlds, really. And yeah, it's well worth the money. I'll have a look soon. I will click on it. It's not that dear though. It's only about, I think it's about 60 or 70 fully upgraded, but that does include a 12.5 grand odd winch. I thought the winch was 18 grand, but it's not. It's about 12. As far as winches go, when you're early in game, obviously you don't just want to be sticking a winch on everything. Whether you choose this as your scout or whatever, I would say it's more important to have a winch on a scout than a truck, because a truck should be able to power its way through things unless it's not good enough. But a scout, like deep mud, they've only got little tyres. The big Cat 745C has got monster tyres. So what is it, about 36 grand or whatever stock? There's about 69 grand. So say, yeah, call it 70, but it's going to be about 58 if I take the winch off, which I think I check now. And yeah, compared to a lot of other scouts, it's still not easy to roll. It's got a lot of muscle for what it is. I mean, the Tatrin is obviously wins on like muscle. As I said, with the Tatrin, it's almost should be its own like exploration vehicle, but they've obviously put it in scout because I suppose it is a scout, really. It can't hardly do anything else. It can't have trailers or any of that, but it just does one thing very, very well. These are all more useful for all sorts of situations. And yeah, it's more nimble than the Tatrin and so on. There's the 4 fog light bumper I added, and that's probably the bumper I would go with. I'm not too sure how much a bumper actually affects what damage you take when you hit someone. I'll have to test it out, but I've had bumpers on stuff and I still take hits, so I don't know. But yeah, this was obviously what I was just going to show you quickly with the gearbox. Is obviously in all scouts except the Tatrin that's got the special and advanced special, scouts have the SnowRunner and the freeway gearbox, whereas like I say, because this has got a truck engine, it's got a truck gearbox, it has the off-road and the high range gearbox. which is exactly the same as this Tayger's got. So for high speed going along roads, that's good because you've got 2 more gears, and yeah, it just, I suppose, it doesn't have to muscle its way through 6 gears, like 8 gears spreads it out a bit, and once you're in the higher ranges, it flies down the road, but it grips nicely. Get yourself a loaf. Yeah, that's about it. That's all I got to say, really. Get it. I very highly doubt you'll regret buying it. Like, I've kept it, and yeah, it's my second favourite Scout behind the loaf, and I ain't selling it. Yeah, anyway, that's about it for today. I hope you've enjoyed. I hope that helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll be back soon.